I keep my goals to myself, cause whenever I share it with folks, they get a look upon their face and their memory floats to a time where their goals and the stars ain't...
What's good? It's your boy JayThat'sMe. We're going to get into TNA Impact from January the 29th, 2026. This was a very weak episode, but it was still kind of newsworthy. We got the Fiesta Fire results revealed. Steve Maclin is officially gone from TNA. We will talk about that when we get to it. So, there is that. And we got an explanation as to why the system took out Moose. So that was it. Other than that, this show was just a nothing burger, for being honest. Before we get into the review, let's go over the ratings for last week's show, which was January the 22nd. So last week's show got a rating of 171K, which is fine. They only lost 200 viewers, and they got a 0.03 in the rating, which is fine for the demo. That's good. They're still on par with Collision, more than likely. I know people want to make this joke out that, TNA and AEW are having some type of war. They're really not. Let's be honest here. No one really watches Collision, right? Nobody watches Collision. Nobody. So it's a nothing show. It really, truly is. Like, people are saying, well, it's because TNA is on Thursday and Collision's on Saturday. Like, that has nothing to do with it. It doesn't matter. Even if Collision were to go live after Dynamite, people just would not care. Nobody watches Collision. Collision has been an afterthought for a while now. And it's slowly becoming the second coming of Rampage, if we're being honest. Like, that's really what it's becoming. Nothing really happens on the show. It's just a bunch of matches. I mean, AEW's staple show is Dynamite. That's just what people tune in for, is to watch Dynamite, and that's it. No one cares about Collision, and no one sure as hell gives a damn about Ring of Honor. And really and truthfully, you really only have 2 hours of television. That's all they have. I mean, you can add Collision, but who wants to watch Collision, But it is what it is. So that's fine. I think that the rating might go down for tape shows, because this show here was taped. It wasn't live. So yeah, I think they'll do well on live shows. The ratings will be steady for live shows, but tape shows like this one, it's not going to do as strong. I'm going to say probably maybe about 150, 160. I think that's a good number. I doubt if it'll go to like 130 or even 120. That would be scary if that were to happen. That would be very scary. So, there's that on the ratings end of things. But let's go ahead and get into the review. So we kicked the show off with the system. So Brian Myers gets on the mic and says that it had to be done. He says just like 3 or 4 times. The crowd boos. So Eddie Edwards, he explained the reason as to why they attacked Moose last week. Moose was once the most dominant athlete in professional wrestling. Now he's nothing more than a selfish prick who puts himself first. Eddie Edwards claimed that JDC joined the system just to ride their coattails to the finish line of his pathetic career. So Alicia Edwards, Eddie Edwards' wife, shows up. She said she was bothered that Eddie kept this plan a secret from her. Eddie pointed out to Alicia how Alicia Edwards has emotional reactions, and that can't fly in business. So Alicia says that her contract is coming up soon, and she wanted to know what happens if she doesn't want to be a part of the system. So Eddie Edwards stands firm. either she trusts the system or she's out of the system. So Alicia just walks out because she didn't want to be a part of the system anymore. Okay, that's fine. Who really cares? We all know this is storyline purposes only. Even though Alicia Edwards' contract is coming up, she's probably still going to re-sign with TNA. I don't know where she could go, really. Like, let's get real. So she'll probably end up re-signing, especially since they mentioned it on television. So there's that. Whatever. Moving on. We get a backstage interview with BDE from Jim Miller. He says that he's going to prove that he belongs in TNA. He started being overlooked as nothing more than a YouTuber. Moving on from that, this leads us into the first match of the night. Nick Nemeth defeats BDE. Match was pretty okay. It was pretty long because Nick basically toyed with BDE for most of the match, basically. He ended up winning via the Danger Zone because BDE was going to go for a mid-air cutter, and he ate the Danger Zone instead for the 1, 2, 3. That's fine. Who really cares about that? Ryan Nemeth showed up. He called out Mara Sade for assaulting him week after week. He wanted her to admit that he was the superior athlete and shake his hand. So Mara Sade, she reluctantly obliged to shake Ryan Nemeth's hand. Then she punched him in the ball sack, and Ryan Nemeth hit her with a super kick and a lariat. This is the problem I have with TNA. Why are we still doing this intergender shit? It makes no sense. This is stuff for the indies. Like, this should not be on national television. TNA has to begin to realize you are on national television. Enough is enough. Stop doing this stupid ass indie shit. This is stuff that we would see on the indies. This is not becoming of one of the top 3 wrestling promotions in the U.S., right? TNA is arguably number 3. WWE is number 1, obviously. A distant number 2 is AEW. And a distant 3 is TNA, right? That's just what it is. Everybody else just does shows whenever they can, right? Again, TNA has to understand this. They're on national fucking television. Learn to act like it. Moving on. This leads us into Ash by Elegance. So they had a celebration for her. She's medically cleared and wants the Knockouts championship that she never lost. So, Xia Li, aka Li Ying Li, or Lei Ying Li, walked in uninvited to say that she earned this title. Ash can have a shot anytime, anywhere. So Heather and M started to surround Xia Li, but then Xia Brookside and Andy Hartwell, they showed up to have Xia Li's back. Mr. Elegance tried to seduce them by flexing his muscles. And Andy Hartwell wasn't interested, and she stole the champagne. So I guess it's going to be a trios match. Whatever, who cares? But I mean, this is fine here. Clearly, Ash by Elegance is not going to be Knockout champion again. I think after Xia Li loses the title at some point, it's going to probably either be Danny and Luna or Atlanta Black. It's probably going to more likely be Atlanta Black. So, I don't know. But it's more likely going to be Atlanta Black. Trust me. Moving on. Stax defeats Diener, a.k.a. the Hometown Man. He wanted Ariana to help him cheat, but she didn't want to. So, whatever. Stax shouldn't be cheating to beat sorry-ass Diener. Like, come on. Like, Stax should have been able to beat Diener with ease. And I think that's one problem with TNA. They still hold on to these old guys that they need to get rid of and just make producers. Whatever. So, Stax then lies to Ariana saying that he won the match clean. whatever. So backstage, Stacks questioned Ariana about not helping him. She wants to go straight and narrow and make it up to her father. So Santino Marella, he's eavesdropping, and then she said that she wasn't okay with Stacks' attitude. So again, this is fine. I think this is all going to be a ruse. I think that that what they're doing in Evolve with Nikita Lyons, how they went to go, read tarot cards and all that stuff. That's cool there, but I still think that this is going to lead to a match between Stacks and Santino Marella. He'll lose the match, and he'll have to put his TNA Director of Authority status on the line, and then if he loses, he's no longer in that position. And I think that makes the most sense storyline-wise. Moving on, Elijah defeated Jason Hotch. Whatever, who cares? I don't care about this shit. Moving on, Jada Stone. She's excited to be in TNA, so she gets interrupted by Order 4. So Mustafa Ali begins to rant about Elijah. Mustafa Ali shouted that no one cares about her, that being Jada Steele. So basically, Jada Stone sassed Mustafa Ali. So Tasha Steele stepped in and she reprimanded her with a nasty slap. So Jada Stone doesn't like being interrupted, so Tasha Steele, punched her in the face. So then security separated them, and then Elijah showed up to offer a handshake to Jada Stone. Okay, this is fine, I guess. Whatever. Moving on. Atlanta Black defeated Ruthie J. I have no idea who that is. Probably just somebody who's been on Explosion, which I do not watch. So whatever. That's fine there. Clearly, Daria Rae was out there on commentary, and she said this is just the beginning. She said she's got some big surprises in store for No Surrender in February. So that's great. That's going to take place on Friday the 13th. Friday 13th. That's cool. That's great. So clearly they're going to bring in some more talent, which I do like that. It needs to happen. Moving on from that, let's get just into the Hardys. They're backstage. They're hyped up to be on AMC with endless possibilities. So the Righteous show up. They say Genesis wasn't chaos. It was clarity for Vincent and Dutch. The Righteous tried to recruit the Hardys to be with them. Vincent didn't need an answer tonight, but he wants them to think on it. I don't care about this shit at all. Who gives a damn about this? Moving on. Now we get to the Feast or Fired stuff. So Trey Miguel is the first one to open up his case. He gets a shot at the International Championship, which is cool. So I could see Stacks coughing that up eventually to Trey Miguel at some point. Eddie Edwards, he gets a world title shot. Steve Maclin gets fired because he opened up case number 3. Then Eric Young, he laughs at Steve Maclin's misfortune. Then Eric Young, his story ass is going to unfortunately get a X Division title shot. So Maclin just walks out without speaking, and that was it. So we've known for a while that Maclin has kind of been a little bit disgruntled with TNA, which is fine. It makes sense. Where do I think Maclin will go? I think if I was Steve Maclin, I get that his wife, Deonna Purrazzo, is in Ring of Honor, but Maclin really needs to prove himself. I think Steve Maclin would be better off doing something in MLW and NWA. I think that would be great. NWA is trying to grow. Same thing with MLW. Shout out to Karrion Kross. He just won the MLW World Championship, which is great. I would love to see Steve Maclin versus Karrion Kross. I think that would be great. So if I was Steve Maclin and he wants to be world champion, I would go to MLW. I really would. Again, who cares about making money with Tony Khan, because that's all he's going to make. He's just going to be just low on the totem pole. He's just going to be just like the rest of his Impact brethren, probably just in stables or doing jack shit in Ring of Honor. And I don't want that for Steve Maclin. I really don't. But I would love for him to pop up in MLW and do some stuff there, as well as do some stuff in NWA. I think that's the best for him. That's what I would do if I was Steve Maclin, because who wants to really work for AEW, right? Like, they've got way too many people, and Tony Khan just basically brought in 10 people within a matter of just 3 weeks. We're only 3 weeks into the new year. Well, now 4 weeks. We're basically 4 weeks into the new year, basically. And Tony Khan just constantly just continues to bring in people. And I think at some point in time, he needs to say there's going to be a limit, and he needs to do mass releases, but he's scared to. Like, he's scared to just release people for whatever reason. I have no idea why. That's how the indies flourish. That's how MLW flourishes. TNA, NWA, GCW, JCW. That's how these smaller promotions form. They're able to get more talent through releases, right? We know WWE, they constantly do releases. They do a bunch every single year. We know come after Mania, WWE is going to be handing out a bunch of pink slips. Like, this is a no-brainer, and it makes sense. But for whatever fucking reason, Tony Khan just wants to hoard talent and just thinking that, hey, I'm going to give everybody a 6-figure contract, and you can just sit your ass in Ring of Honor or do work for Collision, and that's it. Like, no, I think Steve Maclin should really go to MLW/NWA. That's what I would do if I was Steve Maclin. Moving on. This leads us into Eddie Edwards. He confronts Mike Santana. So he says that the target is on the back of Mike Santana. Mike Santana doesn't back down. He already ran through the system. Pause. Mike Santana game is to wrestle Eddie Edwards whenever he cashes in. Eddie Edwards warns that this is a new routine of the system and they can't be beat. Not true. Whatever. This leads us into the main event of the evening. So the Feature Fired stuff took place before the main event. So Tom Hannafin, he was crying on commentary. Same thing with Matthew Raywall, a.k.a. Aiden English. They put over Maclin, how if it wasn't for Maclin, neither of them would have their jobs in TNA. So I like that. He said that it breaks his heart to see his best friend get fired. Main event of the evening. Rich Swann defeats AJ Francis in No Holds Barred. Who really cares? It's not really all that important. Whatever. The fans pop for this. And then the show closed with Frankie Kazarian. He approached Daria Rae saying that they need to talk, and that was it. I have no idea what that means. We don't need to see Frankie Kazarian in the world title picture. I think once Eric Young fails at being X-Division champion, I think it's time for them to move his ass on from TNA, like make him a producer. The same thing with Frankie Kazarian. Again, the problem with TNA is they're still using these old-ass dinosaurs, and Frankie Kazarian and all these other guys, Eric Young. It's time to move on from those guys. Bring in guys that you know that you can get. Make Eric Young and those guys producers. Frankie Kazarian, same thing. So, it is what it is. But this was a very weak episode of TNA. Hopefully Steve Maclin ends up in MLW or NWA or working for both promotions. But we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. What did you guys think of TNA Impact? Let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.